Respected members of on the dais, Bukhari Sahab, Sabir Saqafi Sahab and others, and of course the organizers of this event. I'm very honored and grateful that you have invited me to speak today at the SAHITYOTSAV of the SSF here in KOZHIKODE. This is my first experience with an event of this kind, and even though it is expected of me as a journalist to speak about the situation facing the media, I thought it may be more interesting for our audience, particularly our younger audience, students, to hear my views on what are really common challenges that we confront as journalists, but which you also are confronting and have to confront as students who are about to enter the world. It's a challenging prospect, and many of the challenges that you face and we face are really quite similar. The fact is, friends, that we are passing through a very, very difficult time for India and the world. Saqafi Sahab mentioned conflict and war. In our over the last literally 1 or 2 years, we have seen deadly conflicts. Russia versus Ukraine, Israel against the people of Palestine and Gaza, where there is an ongoing genocide in front of our own eyes. Then the unprovoked US-Israeli attack on Iran. There is also the ongoing civil war in Sudan, conflicts in other countries which are threatening the lives or have taken the lives of thousands and thousands of people. And what is worse, countries that speak about democracy, speak about human rights, speak about international law, these are the countries that are either directly involved in war, in genocide, or are insisting on remaining silent in the face of this mass violence and in the face of this mass killing. So today, this is the reality, that when countries around the world say they stand for democracy, for human rights, for freedom, we know from the experience of Gaza that this is a complete lie. That the world is being fooled, and as students, you have to ask yourself, what is the reality of this world then? What does any country believe in? What does any country stand for? And what sense am I to make of this world, which I will soon be entering, where the lessons of the last 100 years, which were that there must be respect for human rights, there must be respect for the laws of war, that you do not target civilians, you do not target children in war, you oppose genocide. These have been the principles which have guided the world for the last 50, 60 years. And today these principles have been thrown out of the window. What sense are we to make of where the world is headed? Turning towards the situation in India. We are living through a moment when democracy is under challenge, is under threat. When the right to free speech is being attacked. When minority rights are being attacked. When freedom of the press is being undermined. And when the right to vote, which is the basic right of every citizen, it's the one right that every citizen has, which they have been able to exercise multiple times since 1947. Today, that right to vote, as we have seen in Bihar, in West Bengal, in Assam, in other places, this right to vote today is being under threat. And lakhs of our fellow people have been deprived of their right to vote on false grounds. So, as a journalist, I look at the world, I look at India, and I see that this is a very difficult, very challenging time for me. And as students, you look at the world, you look at India, and you see injustice all around, you see violence all around, you see the rule of law being undermined, and you can be forgiven for asking yourself the question, what kind of a country, what kind of a society have my parents given me? There is also the problem of environmental degradation, environmental pollution. You are inheriting a planet whose air is polluted to the extent to which in the city that I live in, Delhi, children have developed respiratory diseases simply because of the air they breathe in Delhi. Other parts of the country may have slightly better air quality, but the quality of water is not good. Forests are being cut down. All kinds of projects are being cleared with minimal scrutiny, which are undermining the environmental future that belongs to all of you. So, as a student, you are coming of age, you're taking part in these wonderful competitions, you're preparing for life. But you're preparing for life in a country, in a world, in a society, in an era where violence and injustice is on the increase, where democracy is under threat, where the environment is being destroyed, where your right to speak, your right to express an opinion is coming under threat. What is it then that students are expected to do? One more thing that you face as students, which I don't have to face as a journalist. Even the system of national exams is not being conducted fairly. So you can study for NEET, you can study for CBSE, you can study for all the different exams that are being administered around the country, and you don't know if the exam system is going to be run fairly, that the paper has not been leaked, that you will be marked properly and correctly, that there will be no corruption, there will be no errors in the system. There is no guarantee of that, as we have seen over the last 2 months, where now young people are protesting, demanding that the Education Minister of India should resign. So this is the world that students like you are entering. This is the world that journalists like me has to write about. And you can understand why I began by saying we face a common challenge. As a journalist, how do I deal with this challenge? Well, I deal with this challenge by doing my dharma as a journalist, which is to report what I believe to be true, to investigate, to ask questions, even if asking questions gets me into trouble sometimes. And we've seen many examples, many cases of journalists being arrested, journalists being locked up because of the work that they do as journalists. But that is the job that we have chosen to do. Many in my profession have abandoned that job. Many newspapers and TV channels do not believe that that is the job they need to do. But there are enough women and men, journalists, editors, photographers, cartoonists, who believe in the job, who are doing this job of informing the public about what is happening in India. And the fundamental, if I was to reduce our job to one metric, it is the ability to ask questions. So when the government or some politician or some businessman says something, we don't have to accept that what they say is correct. We have to say, please prove what you are saying. And if they don't want to prove it, we will find ways to see whether that statement is correct or not, whether that fact is correct or not. This is our job. But what is it that you as students should do when you know that you are entering a world which is full of problems? Entering a world that certainly, when I was growing up, this is not something that I had to deal with. So what is the advice that I as a journalist can give you as students at this very difficult and challenging stage of your life? And I think the first one is a very obvious one. All your teachers tell you this. Your parents tell you this every day. You need to study hard. There's no escape from that. You have to read your books. You have to go to school. You have to take part in class discussions. You have to do your homework. You have to think. You have to learn to use your mind. That's step number one. Without that, you can't do anything. But there are lots of other things also that are important. I would say building friendships and associations, learning to interact with people beyond social media. It's very tempting for us who are on social media to think that we are interacting, that we are exchanging views, but that cannot be a substitute for interaction and exchange of views, discussion, debate in the real world with real people. So building friendships is a very, very important part of education. I can tell you today that some of my closest friends, people that I depend on, people who help me when I'm in trouble, people who I help when they're in trouble, who give me advice, who take advice from me, are people who went to school with me, people who went to college with me. We studied together, we worked together, we laughed together, we played together. So those friendships which you form at this time in your life as a student, these are lifelong associations. And you need to build these up, you need to breathe life into them, you need to keep them going. Third, you need to learn to look at the problems of other people with sympathy. Today I was very pleasantly surprised to see on the road while we were coming here, there was a small accident where two motorcycles crashed and one lady was on the road. Immediately, number of people got out of their cars to help. I'm sure everybody was in a hurry to go to reach their destination. Nobody has time. But you see somebody in difficulty, you see somebody with a problem. It is a natural human tendency to want to help, to sympathize. Of course, in modern society, very often we are encouraged to turn away, do your own thing, don't get involved. But I would say learning to look at the problems of other people with sympathy is a very, very important part of your education. If you leave school without having developed a sense of sympathy, you will never be able to contribute to society. So developing that outlook of sympathy, of solidarity is very, very important. Number 4, you have to learn to respect difference and diversity. You see, not everybody looks the same, not everybody eats the same food, not everybody laughs or jokes in the same way, not everybody has the same views. Whether about politics, whether about football, we all have our different opinions. You have to learn how to debate, how to discuss, have arguments, have fierce arguments. But learn how to respect at the end of the day the fact that somebody else has a different opinion. So respecting difference, respecting diversity, that somebody else wants to worship in a different way, somebody else likes to eat different kind of food, somebody else likes music, somebody likes music, somebody doesn't like music. Life is full of diversity, full of difference. And your job as students is to appreciate that difference, respect it. Don't try to erase it. Don't try to destroy it. One of India's great strengths is that we are strongly united. And why is it that we are united? It's because we all come from different backgrounds. We speak different languages. We have different religions, different cultures. But the fact that we have this diversity, that we live together and that we respect this diversity, this is what gives India its strength. So as students, particularly when it comes to differences of opinion, you need to learn how to debate respectfully. Unfortunately, on social media, it's very common to see people resorting to abuse, people name calling, attacking somebody. That's no way to debate or to resolve differences. So there will be differences of opinion. We have to learn to live with that and be civil about it. That is an important lesson also of what you need to be as a student. Fifth, it is not enough to show sympathy for somebody who has problems. You have to learn to speak out against injustice and wrong when you see it. Do not be a silent bystander. You're walking somewhere and you see somebody unnecessarily attacking a dog or beating a child. Don't be that person who walks away. Don't be that person who looks away. As you grow older, you will have to confront many situations where something wrong happens in front of your eyes. Maybe somebody is trying to take a bribe, somebody is using violence, somebody is stealing, somebody is robbing. You need to be that person who will speak out against injustice. If somebody is being denied what is their right, it is important to have that habit that you will not accept that. So this is also a very important lesson for you as students, and certainly as journalists for us also. If we see something wrong happening, if we see something that is unjust, it is our duty to write about it. Even if this means that some powerful person will get upset. That shouldn't matter. So having the courage to speak against injustice, to speak against what is wrong, is an essential part of what you need to bring when you enter the real world. Above all, dear students, you need to recognize the value of being a citizen. Already today you will have heard at the national level many people in power who try to say that India belongs only to some people. You have to stand up and say that this country is mine, and you are nobody to tell anyone who is Indian, who is not. This country is yours, you belong here, and India belongs to you. I am emphasizing this because today the right to be a citizen, the right to exercise your rights as a citizen is being challenged, it is being attacked, and you need to be very clear that nobody can tell you that this is not your country. You have to be absolutely clear about this. The right to eat what you want, to pray as you wish, to love as you wish, the right to work anywhere in the country, your right to speak, your right to ask questions, your right to protest when you see something wrong or unjust, your right to vote, to elect and be elected. These are fundamental rights that belong to you, which nobody can take away. And when you leave school, when you're done with all the different competitions, and I wish you best of luck for all the different competitions that you've entered, but when you leave school, you should be absolutely clear about this. That as a citizen you have rights and duties, and that you will fulfill those. And you will not let anyone, no matter how powerful, stand in the way of what are your fundamental rights. Thank you very much.